The fire hissed in the middle of the small, mud-walled compound, casting shadows that danced eerily on the faces of the family seated around it. The old man, weak and silent, stared into the flames, but his thoughts were far away. His daughter, Kemi, now a woman of grace and strength, served him a plate of steaming gari and soup. Her hands were steady, but her heart was heavy. She whispered to herself, "If my father knew I would be the one to feed him at his old age, would he have treated me differently?" In the bustling town of Africa, Nigeria, in the western region of the country, there is a village settled by the mountainside. The village is called Egbotah. The village are diverse in their occupations. Some people are farmers, while others are fishermen, traders and civil servants in Egbotah village. Their custom and traditions were meant to believe that male children are the one who were meant for wealth, power, and a secured future. For these reasons, their parents don't care to train their female children, nor send their female children to learn handwork. To cut the long story short, they regard female children as nobody, and according to their fathers, female children don't ask their father's name in their marriage. Among the fathers that have these beliefs and orientation is Mr. Ademona, a strict primary school teacher, a man of traditional beliefs, who lives at the entrance of the village. He believed sons were meant for wealth, power, and a secured future. He is married to one woman. His wife's name is Naomi, popularly called Mama Kemi, or Madam Gary. She sold gari from one market to another, breaking her back to keep the family afloat. Mr. Ademona and his wife Mrs. Naomi had 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl, named Kemi. She is the 4th child of the family, and she was treated as a shadow, almost invisible to her father. From the moment Kemi was born to their family, her father, Mr. Ademona, resented her. "A girl? What use is she? She'll leave this house with another man's name," Mr. Ademona always said. Mr. Ademona lavished all his resources on his boys. He paid their school fees, bought their books, paid for their accommodation fees, and invested in their futures. But Kemi, on the other hand, was ignored. Her father refused to send her to school, and also refused to sign handwork for her, claiming, "Why waste money on a girl who will marry and forget us?" Kemi watched her brothers growing, laughing, and playing, while she stayed at home, helping her mother with selling of gari or patching old clothes for the family. But deep down, Kemi was resilient. She harbored a secret hope: one day, I'll make something of myself. As years passed, life began to shift. The boys failed the family. The eldest son, Leoland, dropped out of university after having carryover repeatedly. He blamed everyone but himself. The second son, Ibrahim, squandered his father's money on smoking, gambling, and joining cultists in the university. The third son, Abdullahim, abandoned the family altogether, chasing city dreams that never materialized, but landed into bus conductor. The youngest son, Mohammed, the last born of the family, lacked ambition and stayed at home, depending on his parents for everything. He does no work for himself. None help his parents to do any work for the family. He just play the role of daddy and mummy's pet. Mr. Ademona was heartbroken. His dreams of a legacy through his sons crumbled before his eyes. But Kemi's rise, while her brothers faltered, Kemi found strength in her mother. Mrs. Naomi, Kemi's mother, secretly saved a portion of her gari profits to pay for Kemi's apprenticeship with a tailor in the neighboring village, called Abule, where Kemi worked tirelessly, learning the tailoring job, often sewing late into the night. Slowly, her skills improved, and she began sewing clothes for the villagers of Egbotah and neighboring villages. People began to admire her talent, and Kemi's name started spread through the villages. And the people of Egbotah began to realize that their custom and traditions has ruined the future of their female children in the village. Years later, Kemi became the most sought-after designer in the village, and she became the first female tailor in the village. Her vibrant Ankara dresses, perfectly tailored buba and iro, and unique styles brought her fame. She was now Kemi the designer. Wealthy and prominent men from far and nearby village were coming to seek her hand in marriage. Among these wealthy and prominent men are Senator Aminu, Prince Egbotah, and Alhaji Ali Ibrahim. They comes frequently to visit Kemi in her shop and their family house as well. Alhaji Ali Ibrahim is a businessman and farmer. He holds farmland and livestock. He has a lot of workers who work for him. But Kemi does not like Alhaji Ali Ibrahim because he is older than Kemi by far. Senator Aminu is a lawyer and politician. He is wealthy. He holds a mansion in the city and duplex in his village. Senator Aminu always come with his escort and convoy to visit Kemi in her shop or her family house, with some pleasant for Kemi and her mother. Kemi likes the Senator Aminu's appearance and dignity. But she don't want to marry a married man, because people will say, he is a sugar daddy to her. Prince Egbotah is son of their village king, who did not grow up in their regions, but grow up in the Western world. Kemi like and love him as a vibrant young man, with different orientation from Egbotah village. Kemi is hardworking, with punctuality, smart and supportive. These attitude made her, has a lot of female apprentices in her shop, both within and outside the village female. With her success, Kemi began to shoulder her family's responsibilities. She sent her youngest brother to school. She stopped her mother from selling of gari from one village market to the other. But rather she opened a big provision store for her mother, and even renovated some part of their small family house. But her father? He couldn't meet her eyes. One fateful day, Mr. Ademona fell ill seriously. His weak body could no longer work, and his sons were nowhere to be found. Desperation filled the house. Mrs. Naomi turned to Kemi and said, "Please Kemi, my daughter, your father needs your help." Kemi hesitated, and said, "This is the same man who denied me an education, who said I was useless." But her heart softened. She stepped in and took her father Mr. Ademona to hospital for treatment, and Kemi paid for his medication and hospital bills. She bought Mr. Ademona, her father, some food, and ensured he had everything he needed. Each day, as she fed him, Mr. Ademona's eyes filled with regret. One evening, Mr. Ademona broke the silence, and said, "Kemi, my daughter, I was wrong. I didn't know you would be the one to care for me in my old age." But Kemi said nothing. Her actions spoke louder than words. The lesson from the story of Mr. Ademona and Kemi teaches us that value doesn't depend on gender, but on character and determination. Mr. Ademona narrow-mindedness nearly cost him the love and support of a child he once ignored. Kemi's resilience and generosity remind us that greatness often comes from unexpected places. As the fire in the compound burned lower, Kemi looked at her father and whispered once more to herself, "If only he knew." There is a question I love to ask: if it was to be you, that is in Kemi's shoe, what will you do? Forgive your father and feed him? Or you will let him pay for the pain he cost you, by letting him strive and suffer? Either yes or no. Drop your opinion at the comments section, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more inspiring African folktales.